Hi, my name is Katherine Schwab, and I'm an assistant managing editor here at Forbes covering technology. I'm here today with Jarek Kutylowski. He is the co-founder and CEO of DeepL, an AI translation service. Jarek, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and it's a pleasure, Catherine.
So let's start just with the basics. Tell me what DeepL's mission is and what products you offer.
Yeah, I mean, we've started quite a few years and have been very, very early to the AI market. I think before really this kind of a crazy rush into this area came about. We've been one of the first companies who've been using AI and kind of doing this basic level academic research on AI and trying to put that into products that actually work and that kind of help us all in some particular area. And language was just, and translation in particular was what we found out was possible with those models very, very early on. So we have figured out that we can basically revolutionize the way the translations are being done. And a lot of what we've been creating with DeepL Translator and then DeepL Voice also afterwards has changed the way that our customers, that our users think about language. It's now powering so many workflows in businesses that are multinational. It's powering so many workflows for businesses that are reaching out to customers in different countries and basically taking this whole language barrier away for our customers.
So take me back to when you first started the company. Uh, Obviously, Google Translate is kind of the consumer behemoth in language translation. Why did you decide to focus on translation specifically, and how did you think about competing with Google Translate?
Yeah, I mean, like we've seen in 2017 when we've launched that there's just this big transition in technology coming up. Machine translation was around at this point in time. There were different solutions on the market, but basically the new or like the rise of AI and the rise of neural networks has made it clear that there is a different technology that's going to make everything that has been done until now obsolete. And that's obviously like the perfect moment for a new startup to come in and take on the incumbents. And I think we're really out of this European DNA that we had here. We did understand the use case. We knew what language is about and what kind of diversity of languages means for businesses. And from that perspective, we've been able to both tackle that from a technological perspective, but also see in how a product can be built that really helps. And for us, it was, when it comes to competing, it was a story of combining like a consumer-like approach of wide availability. I mean, DeepL.com is being used by hundreds of millions of people each and every month. And at the same time, built on top the technology and the product that's really necessary for the high value use cases. Like think about a legal document that needs to be translated or R&D documentation for a life science company. Being able to cover all of that obviously makes the experience much richer.
So you started, like you said, before kind of LLMs really blew up and many years before ChatGPT. So talk to me about how the technology has shifted since you started the company and how LLMs in particular kind of changed the game for translation.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it has changed, and in some ways it actually hasn't changed so much. I mean, like the building blocks of AI that have come around in 2016, 2017, also when DeepL came up, have remained there. A lot has been built on top of that, and models got bigger, and this is what we call LLMs right now. But like basically some of those like deep research and mathematical foundations that are being used nowadays have been already around in 2017. We just learned as humanity and as all the companies that are in this race right now to leverage the power of those models slightly better and with more use cases. So yeah, as I said, it is some of the basics, some of the fundamentals are the same. We layered a few ideas on top of that, and that made that contributes to the rise of AI in general, but also makes language translation being so much better nowadays than it was in 2017 when we started.
Yeah. So when I think about translation, I also, I think about translated books, for instance, where it's truly this art form of translating one author's vision into a different language, because things don't translate one to one, and there isn't kind of always an exact perfect answer. Languages are so complex. So could you talk at a kind of higher level about the technical challenge of that and how you've approached maintaining nuance and kind of the cultural complexities of different languages as you've expanded?
Yeah, I mean, like translation is super broad, and I think the way that you would translate a literary piece, a book, is obviously different than you would when you're translating a patent application or once again this legal contract that we've been talking about. I think there's probably less artistic nuance in a legal contract. I think we can all agree when it comes to that. There is definitely some kind of embedded nuance in the language. Definitely, I mean, like legal is just a subset of language, and it is also important that it's phrased in a particular way. And I think the way that I'm thinking about that is there is always kind of a balance between the factual accuracy of a translation and the nuance that you would find in the target language into which you're translating. So basically the question is, are you trying to replicate exactly what has been written in the other language, or are you trying to write it completely new from scratch? And I think teaching the models on what's the right balance between those two things, giving them the input on what do we actually want from AI, and how do we want those translations to look like for these different areas, has been one of those key wins that we've been able to get to in our products, and then transforms into our customers in a marketing team being able to translate their flashy website perfectly well with DeepL, and it's going to come out like more nuanced, but maybe not that accurate. And on the other hand, the technical documentation that's being translated is going to be just to the point, but maybe it's not going to be sounding that well.
What do you see as the role of humans within this world of machine translation? Like how many translators do you work with to train your models?
We are working with quite a few, and that's been an important part of input that we are providing into the models. Basically, all of AI and also the AI translation models that we built have been based on human knowledge of how languages work or how the world in general works. Those models are, though, getting increasingly more powerful, and they do understand both nuances in languages. They understand our idiomatic expressions. They know how we phrase things in different cultures, maybe even in a way, and are able to kind of go back between those depending on the language. When we're looking at this market and how our customers are using DeepL, humans are still incredibly important, and translators are incredibly important in those processes, helping us to get to this level of quality, but also assuring that the reliability is there. As I said, we are present in so many high value use cases where potential impacts of mistakes are really huge, so that sometimes there needs to be just a part of accountability built into this, and this is just best accomplished by having a human in the loop.
Okay, so is part of we've been talking about legal contracts, for instance. Yeah, that would be extremely high stakes to make sure that that is accurate down to the word. Is there a human in the loop for those kinds of situations, or how does that work?
I mean, honestly, it really very much depends on the customer that we're working with and how they design those workflows. We're going to be seeing nowadays, even in those high stakes environments, that there will be customers who are going to be just fine with AI-based translation, and there's going to be others who will take the route of working with a human in the loop there too. This world is diverse in the approaches that we take to even risk. And therefore, our customers are going to be taking different routes there too. We see the technology being increasingly powerful and therefore being able to cover more and more of those use cases. But that also really depends on the language pairs that you're talking about. There is language pairs which just have a higher quality, and there's language pairs which are also a little bit more tricky to translate.
What would be an example of ones that are more tricky, and why is that?
There is just some languages that do not translate so well between each
Hmm.
other. I think just the mapping between Asian languages and English, for example, is just much harder because they come from a different cultural perspective. They've been built up completely independently, and some of those mechanisms are just different, and therefore kind of translating ideas between those two language worlds is just harder. And then very pragmatically, the capability of AI models really depends on the data available. So if you look at some of the languages that just don't have that much data to train models on, the quality is going to be lower there too, unfortunately.
I'd love to back up a little bit and hear a bit more about your journey as an entrepreneur, and more about your background and what led you to start DeepL.
Yeah, I mean, like I've been since the very early days, like fascinated by technology, and also really the way that technology can change our lives and make those better. And I think when we have started DeepL, we've just seen there is this technology coming up. AI is there. Surprisingly, it's incredibly good at something we believed is very human. Maybe in a sense, languages have been created by humans, but nevertheless, it's great at this, and it can help us make us understand across the world a little bit better. So it was both a fascination about the technology that is out there and that there's a big movement, but also the applicability of this technology in solving a problem that's so widespread and that's been kind of like people have tried to solve that problem for hundreds and hundreds of years, and finally we are at the point where we're actually getting near to anyone in this world can talk to anyone else and get their ideas communicated and do so maybe in a way that's even engaging.
Yeah, well, I know that towards the end of last year, you launched real-time live translation over video, which, yes, exactly to your point, is kind of a dreamy thing to be able to do. What were the challenges in building that kind of product, and what kind of growth have you seen since you launched?
Yeah, I mean, like spoken languages are totally different than written languages.
Right, right.
We do not speak in that very deliberate way, high quality way, maybe even. The sentences, the sentences just flow, and the question is where's the punctuation there? This is sometimes really tricky to decipher for AI. Um, but luckily, really, by the end of last year, the beginning of this year, we've seen this technology is coming to a level where you can actually have a conversation, and these conversations can be really meaningful, and it can be used in a business-like context. I think we're still quite early in this journey on this technology. Like in some ways, maybe we're in 2017 or 2018 when it comes to text translation, because you have the more complicated language, you have to understand the spoken language, kind of make sure that the models get every word, even if the environment might be noisy. So you're kind of adding up problems and challenges on top of each other. And then since it's real time, you always have this challenge of presenting the translation as quickly as possible, because you want to have that for a good flow of a discussion. But then you really have to wait until the end of the sentence, until you know what is being said, and until you can start formulating this into the other language. So once again, even depending on the language pair, you really have to be fast, and being fast is not always that easy.
Yeah, it sounds very technically difficult, but
Yeah.
it's exciting to imagine what that could enable once it's more widespread across a lot of different languages.
We've seen applications, like even when I talk to our customers and our teams talk to our customers, where this technology just completely redefines how you can talk to someone, and how you can have really a meaningful discussion. And each and every time when that happens and you're in the room, it really makes a big difference. And sometimes it's even hard to comprehend for our brains that, hey, we just made it work, like this conversation just worked out.
You just departed from AI translation into a whole new area for the company. Will you tell me a bit about your expansion into agents?
Yeah. I mean, like as a company, we've been always kind of very much forward facing and looking at how can we use AI to enable the next step. I think even the launch of DeepL back then was just a moment like this. And we've been looking at our customer base. DeepL is now present with over 200,000 businesses out there. As said, we're being used by millions of people, and we've been thinking about what is going to be the next stepstone for all of those customers. How can we enable them with solutions? And they trust us for being able to provide AI solutions that just work, that are high quality, that are trusted, that are secure, and really enabling them to get rid of some of the tiresome tasks that you kind of always face in a business environment. Was what we wanted to do, and we wanted to just leverage our ability to build models, to package those models into applications, to do that. And the DeepL agent is what came about with that, which is currently in beta with plenty of our customers.
So, agent is a word lots of people are talking about right now. What does that actually mean in your context?
Yeah, I mean, like the basic idea is that we want to make sure that AI is not just there to answer your questions and to help you maybe on some small parts of a bigger task that you have to complete, but it's also able to complete that task from the beginning to the end for you, and to help you. And what we've started to think about was obviously applications in language, how you are maybe translating a document, but translating the document itself, it's not the end. What you're going to do with this document is you're going to send it to maybe some of your colleagues, and get a review on that, and add in feedback from those reviews, then publish that document on your website. There's a whole process that is usually associated with that. And we've been thinking, how can we make that work easier for our customers? What is going to take for this just to be a completely seamless experience for everyone? And we've said, like, we've provided this goal, this expectation to our teams who've been building this, and at the end we've built an agent that can operate any software that's out there, any basically any system, whether it's a website building system, a content management system, whether it's DeepL itself. It can interact and put those building blocks together so that you get a seamless process, seamless workflow, automated fully. in the interaction with the user, in the interaction with the customer, who always has kind of the fine granular level of control over what actually gets executed as this process and workflow.
Can you give me some specific examples of how your customers are using this right now?
Yeah, I mean, like one of those examples might be really like workflows where documents are involved. Like take a document or take a directory of documents that you have. Inspect which of those documents contain a particular text phrasing, and then consider which ones of those need to be retranslated when a certain wording in what you do as a company has changed. For example, go through those, identify those documents, retranslate them, feedback information from previous translations into that, distribute that across the company, put that on the website live, things like that. So basically, any workflow that you could be thinking of, especially in the realm of language.
So where do you see DeepL going from here now that you have kind of branched out into kind of broader workflow automation? What's your moonshot vision for the company?
Yeah, I mean, like we are staying very, very much truthful to our DNA and being in language. So that part of the company is incredibly important to us, and our customers are relying on us being able to provide solutions there. So we're putting a lot of investment there. I don't think by any means that the journey in language is like that we're ready there. There is still very many gaps to be closed there, and essentially at some point in time we want the language barrier to go away fully. Like we want for everyone to be able to communicate with anyone else without any issue anywhere, and having like incredibly crisp translation everywhere. But at the same time, we want to look into where AI can contribute further, and the part of the agentic journey is that's part of the agentic journey. And I think there we just have to see where the technology goes towards, and we're gonna have, as the whole world needs to do a lot of discovery of what is actually that our customers want to see there. We just see kind of an incredible potential in the technology itself.
Wonderful. Jarek, thank you so much for your time. This was great.
Katharina, thank you very much.